Hey everybody, just kind of an impromptu video to talk about perhaps what's in the dehydrator. I'm making some tea. We have books just in case we randomly want to talk about the oranges that I'll be cutting up to put in the dehydrator, or what I put in my breakfast that I made from leftover tacos last night, which is really good. I'm gonna go run and get a couple things. I'll be back. Wait for some folks to come on. Making a cuppa, like a traditional British cuppa with PG tips. Nobody's here yet. So another thing, we have loads of watermelon right now. We could talk about the properties of watermelon. I know why loads of people aren't here. It's Mother's Day, right? My daughter has gone home for the day, so to me, my Mother's Day has been had. I spent the first part of the day with my mother yesterday for Mother's Day. That was really fun, Mom. I really liked that. We did a video talking about the magical properties of tea, of cuppa. And in mine, again, I say I use PG tips. This is my favorite British English breakfast variety. Super Hands, Peep Show, British, fun. So we could talk about if you want to know the magical properties of cuppa, of tea, we talked about the cream being in it, the tea itself, and the sugar. And we learned earlier when we talked about birthday cakes that sugar is one of those ingredients that are of the very spiritual or was it called a food of the gods, something like that. Sugar, eggs, ancient grains, and what was the other one in birthday cakes? I can't remember. But anyway, we did that video earlier today. Let's quickly talk about, but in that tea video, if you want to watch it, just search Texture Me Witch and how to make a proper cuppa. That's what I called that video. Let's talk about what I made from my leftovers. Last night we had street tacos that we made at home. You could either have street tacos or have crunchy tacos, because I like crunchy tacos. So for me, in street tacos there's radishes, right? Radishes, cilantro, white onion, beef, chicken, whatever you want. So I have this, radishes, which I sauteed with some leftover onions from the tacos. At the very end I stirred in the cilantro. Because cilantro you don't really want to cook. Do you know that cilantro is also coriander? And in the UK they just call it coriander, don't you? But cilantro seed is what makes, or coriander seed is what makes cilantro. So we have this radishes. You could look up the magical properties of it, all that. Then I also took some of the green or verde salsa, and I just kind of put it on the top after the eggs were cooked. Really good. I added Himalayan sea salt, and that's about it. Black pepper. But you could look up all the magical properties of each food in this book, because again, this is the magic of when you ingest it. So let's look up radishes, because I don't think we've ever talked about that before. I'm all over the place most of the time, so I guess we're just going to get a view of that, aren't we? Pick you are, radishes. I've done loads of videos on eggs. Check those out. The mystical egg. There's a chapter in this book called The Mystical Egg. I read through the chapter. Radishes. Radish. 93, 232, 323. 93. Let's try 93. Radish. Planet Mars. And it's a big red ball, so planet being Mars is super easy to remember. Like if you ever had to like make flashcards and memorize these things for herbalism. We're gonna come back to that. I just have to like finish making my tea. I like to use wooden forks or spoons as much as I can. I got a set of 4 of these on Amazon for like, I don't know, it was dumb. They're like 4 for $6. They weren't cheap by any means, but they're really pretty. Just gives that natural wood vibe. Like you can actually take the, use the energies from this wood if you knew what type it was especially, or you can just take the general energies of wood. So I put the sugar in already. I almost forgot that would have been bad. A lot of people use whole milk in Britain for their tea, but I use half and half. My next favorite thing is whole milk, but I love the richness of half and half. And you always want to get a nice orange color. Did I take the bag out? Yeah, I did. You never want to put milk in the tea if the bag's in there. You always want the bag out before you put in milk, no matter what. You don't want to squeeze the bag because that would put bitterness into it. There's a whole process. That's why I made a video over how to make a proper cup of British tea. Man, that is killer. Thought I had a kitty cat who wanted inside. No, not yet. I'm a really big advocate of clean as you go in the kitchen, and that's why it's hard to share a kitchen with somebody who doesn't do that, but it's okay. It's better than being alone, and it's better than being unhappy and lonely and miserable, in my opinion, so. Not everybody is the same. I have 100,000 faults of my own. Does anybody know, like, a cure for if you bite your tongue? I bit it on the side because I was eating really hastily the other day. I was very hungry. Cheers. I bit my tongue and, like, now it's making me talk funny because it's in the way back. And I'm just wondering if anybody knows how one takes care of that. Is there a way to quicken the healing process? Should I hold ice back there? Should I do a working for it that you know of? I'm sure I can think of one on my own, but if anyone knows a medicinal cure, let me know, because I'm not a doctor. No. Okay, we looked up the radishes, and I was saying radishes are round like Mars, and they're red like Mars, right? I really need to fix my eyebrows. They're so bad. Or stay further away from the camera. Hi to the one person that joined. Happy Mother's Day to you. I've been on for 10 minutes. Nobody's joined, and that's because it's Mother's Day. But my child is off to her horse lessons and then home. So I'm here with my other children. You guys, right? Best friends, children, etc. So we're just talking about the breakfast dish that I made out of what was leftover tacos last night. So radishes, the planet is Mars, the element is fire, and fire makes sense to be the element because it is quite spicy. You know, if you bite into just a raw radish, they're quite spicy. When you cook them, which not a lot of people do, and in a lot of places they'd be like, oh, a cooked radish? That's like a cooked avocado. It's sacrilege. Anyway, when you cook them, the spiciness kind of goes down a bit. And I just sauteed them in this dish with the onions and the cilantro I added in the last. You could put the radishes in the last, but I think it's nice to get the flavor of the radish in the eggs. I think it kind of flavors the eggs. When I was a little girl, my mom used to always put radishes in eggs. I don't know why. I think just because we had so many in the garden. Alright, so the energies of protection. So this is a nice protective dish for me to be eating with the radishes. Alright, magical uses, or lore. We have some lore, and I love lore. Wild radishes eaten before breakfast. So if you were to find some in nature, which I have to tell you, I've never come across a wild radish. But I've only really lived and foraged in this one place. Wild radishes eaten before breakfast were once thought to protect the dinner from being flogged and to enable one to overcome all obstacles and enemies. Oh, the diner from being flogged. Okay, let's start that over. Lore. Wild radishes eaten before breakfast were once thought to protect the diner from being flogged and to enable one to overcome all obstacles and enemies. So, just because it's not wild, you could still kind of use it for those purposes, perhaps if you enchanted it anymore, or enchanted it a bit. Alright, and then the magical uses, but you could also use it for obstacles and enemies. Magical uses: slice thinly and eat for protection, and that's exactly how they were sliced, just like you get them out of the taco truck. Especially in salads with onions, bell peppers, and other protective foods. That's great, because onion was another dish that was in the leftover taco stuff from last night that went in the eggs this morning. Really trying to utilize things, not throw away leftovers, etc. Alright, so let's look up the onions. And you can make yourself a whole entire diet based on these foods. Just eat money foods for a week if you're having money troubles. Seriously, you will radiate those energies. It will be hard for the universe not to give you some kind of even tiny little mystery money from somewhere. So, onions, let's look those up super quick. Again, happy Mother's Day to everybody. We're reading out of this, and we're trying to figure out, so far my breakfast has loads of protection with the radishes and the onions. We read the properties of radish, and now we're going to read the properties of onions. So, 89 to 90 is where I think it's at. Yeah, it's going to be here with chives, I bet. Okay, great. Onion. Let's talk about onion. The planet is Mars. I would have guessed that the planet would be the moon, if I had to guess, because it's round and white. But the planet is Mars, and I'm guessing that's because it's spicy. Because the inside of a radish, even though the outside's red, the inside is white. Element is fire, and again, that makes sense because onions are spicy when eaten raw. Everything should be tasted when raw to tell their things for like this, not when they're cooked. Because when a sweet onion is eaten raw, it's sweet, sure, like a nice Washington Walla Walla, but it's still going to be really, really potent with that spice. A radish, when eaten raw, has definitely got a spice to it. Alright, so onion, the planet was Mars. Element fire, energies, protection, and weight loss. And this book has a lot of great advice for weight loss, including symbols to put into your food for weight loss, you know, things like that. I know that Stargirl the Practical Witch has had luck with weight loss and magic, but I've never watched her video on weight loss and magic. However, it does say right on the thumbnail, caution, this works really well, be careful. So y'all should check that out if you want to know about it. Now lore, I really love that this book has lore. So let's read the lore on onions, and we're just kind of decoding what my breakfast is good for that I'm eating. Radishes and onions so far are both very protective. Lore. The great city of Chicago was named for the local Indians, so after a local Indian tribe, word for the wild onions growing in the area, Chicago. Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that the city was named after onions and a tribe. Now we know. According to ancient Egyptian incantations, onions were included in charms designed to keep potentially harmful ghosts from children. Celebrants at winter solstice festivals in Egypt wore onions around their neck. Onions also played a role in the mummification process. Though it had often been written that the pyramids were built by onion and garlic-fed slaves, all Egyptians ate onions in those days. Onions, bread, and beer made up the basic Egyptian diet. That's really interesting stuff. I cannot lie, I love raw garlic and things like spicy tuna rolls and sushi, and I love raw onion in the same thing, and sometimes I even like to just eat a piece of a raw onion. So here we go. In old Rome, the naturalist Pliny wrote that runners should eat onions daily for speed and endurance. So these onions will help me perhaps with my speed and endurance throughout the day as well. That's great. About in 1394, an Arab writer recommended onions boiled together with green peas and spiced with cardamom, cinnamon, and ginger to create sexual desire. I love cardamom in food, and I especially love using whole cardamom pods that I have for my witchcraft and putting that into like a red wine and maple syrup sauce. Oh my gosh! Like, and then add maybe like kumquats to that are blended, and that gives it this like spicy citrus kick. So good. We're off of the track. Get back. Alright, 300 years later, the English herbalists, we're still talking about onion. The English herbalist Gerard, and we talk about Gerard, he comes up a lot, so I need to do my own research on Gerard and a video on him, because he comes up so much in Scott Cunningham's conversations. So Gerard prescribed in the use of onions in weight loss diets. Their low calorie content makes them ideal for this. Even if they are well boiled, he states, onions will not lose their attuning quality. I don't know this word. Attenuating quality. In contemporary Guatemala, men eat onions to retain virility and to procreate children, even into advanced age. In contemporary Guatemala, magical uses. This sharply scented plant has long been revered and utilized in magical ritual. In general, onions are eaten to boost our protective armor, which is created by a flow of energy from the body. They can be used in any form whatsoever for this purpose, and the sharper the taste, the more effective the onion will be. Onions have long been kept in the kitchen, halved, to absorb evil, which I'm doing right now. Where did it go? Right. So the other half of this, I'm getting ready to put in a certain room of my house, and it will just cut in half, will absorb the evil. We used half for the taco dinner, and this is a huge reason why you guys should, you don't want to eat something that has absorbed negative energy, okay? So that is a huge reason why you don't want to eat an onion that's been sitting out even for an hour or two or half the day, or even with saran wrap on it, whatever. It's not going to stop it from absorbing the negative energies in the area. So I put mine in the fridge until I needed it. And I have now going to set it in the room. So basically, get the onions the size you want them, because otherwise the other part will kind of be wasted, because you can't really, you don't want to eat that negativity. Okay, so, or as Gerard recommended, that herbalist from 300 years ago, or hundreds of years ago, or as Gerard recommended, eat onions daily as a part of a weight loss plan. And I've heard that a lot, and they are great with like natural pesticides for within the body for tapeworms and all different kinds of, what do you call them, that can come up. I'll think of it. So what else is in my breakfast that we want to look up and decode? I didn't add garlic this time. I thought about it, but I didn't. Cilantro. Okay, so let's look up cilantro. Which I didn't cook. I just added it in last. So we have radishes and onions, both protection foods that we talked about. Cilantro, which we're going to talk about. Eggs, salt and pepper. Himalayan sea salt and pepper. That's it. There was just stuff that was left on the counter this morning, and I was like, oh, the radishes and onions will be fine, but like the beans I had to throw away because nobody put them away. They go in the compost. I guess they don't really get thrown away. And remember we were talking about the other day how it used to be illegal to throw away food in Britain during wartime? It's crazy, you guys. But it's a good idea. Maybe we should all not be so wasteful and get in trouble if we do waste. It's not a bad idea. Okay. Cilantro. Let me look that up. Not, oh, 135, found it. I was like, I'm not finding it, but I know it's in here. I have to check and make sure there's no cilantro in my teeth. Hold on a minute. Yeah, it's in here. It's just under coriander. Told you it was called that. Go. Okay. Cilantro. The green stuff that comes on the top of your street tacos. It's usually minced pretty fine with the white onion that's raw. Cilantro. Comes from a coriander seed. Otherwise known in a lot of other countries as coriander, not cilantro. So, coriander. Coriandum sativum. Planet Mars. All three have been Mars planets. Isn't that wild? Is Mars like in some kind of like retrograde? I don't really know too much about that kind of thing, but the radishes were Mars, which made sense because they're red and round. The onion was Mars, and it's round and white. And then now the cilantro, and these are just 3 random ingredients that were in my breakfast that were decoding its magical abilities, the breakfast that I randomly put together. Now the cilantro is also a Mars. Okay, element fire. All 3 have been fire elements. All 3 of those, because they're all, I guess, kind of spicy. Cilantro's not too spicy, so that one might be surprising to me. Energies, love, and sex in cilantro. Those are the energies. Lore for cilantro, or coriander. A sprig of fresh cilantro, or coriander leaves, is placed in many Central American kitchens to guard against evil. So you could just hang some fresh cilantro, and I'll pull some out of the fridge right now so that you can see what that looks like. Where's that cilantro? Okay, so here's some beautiful, fresh, bright green cilantro. It tastes so good. And when you add it to your scramble, you just want to stir it in when it's off the heat. But you could take a sprig of this. Just like this, just one. It says one sprig. Hang it anywhere in the kitchen, really. So you could hang it back here from one of your racks or something. You could hang it here. I'm just gonna put it here. You see it in my kitchen window there? I've just hung it there in the window. So that is going to help guard against evil in this kitchen. Also remember, we just talked about the other half of the onion that you didn't use yesterday. It's already started absorbing negativity. So put that out and just let it absorb all the negativity and then go bury it. And I wouldn't bury that in your compost bin. I would bury it in a negativity spot you have out in your yard dedicated to. But like my daughter just left and sometimes she's like super like sad and depressed because she's a teenager like with hormones. I'm going to sneak this and put this in her room so it just absorbs all that negativity. And that's what I'm going to do with that. So now we're talking about what else is in my breakfast that I made from the leftover tacos last night. What's magically in here, okay? The only thing left to decode, because there was only like 6 things in there, is the eggs, the sea salt, and the pepper. So let's look up and just quickly talk about the pepper. Because egg has a whole chapter. Maybe I can see 199 to 203. Maybe we can quickly talk about eggs, but there's just so much you can do with it. It doesn't really have general uses. It's got so much within each. I did a whole egg video. Check that one out. But let's go to pepper. Just black pepper. And then the only other thing is Himalayan sea salt. But that was definitely a Mars meal. Let's look up some black pepper. Black-eyed peas, blackberry, black pepper. I think it's going to be on page 131 to 132. And we're reading out of this book here. So, black pepper. And these are little things we add to everything, salt and pepper, that we don't really look up. But let's not forget, because they are additional things. Again! Planet Mars. Same as radish, onion, and cilantro. Element, fire, same as radish, onion, and cilantro. Energies, protection and purification. Protection comes back in. The onions and the radish were protection. So, black pepper. This meal has been so good for protection. And then the cilantro was good for a couple of things. The lore for black pepper. Though you may casually ask the waiter to add a few grinds of black pepper to your salad or sprinkle some of the spice onto your food without a second thought, just like I said, that's so funny. Black pepper is an ancient plant with a long history. Used medicinally in Greece as early as 500 BCE. I have to say this, I'm not a doctor. I just read from these books, okay? The most common food flavoring of our times was used for for 3 gynecological problems. Pepper has been, the most common food flavoring of our times was used there for gynecological problems. Pepper has been used in cooking and medicine in Asia for over 4,000 years. It just took us a while to catch up with the rest of the world. Yeah, that's interesting. As soon as I learned something of black pepper's history, I became fascinated by it. I finally had the pleasure of seeing a living black pepper vine. We have that, by the way. Alex has pepper vines. We have a couple different types. Even a Japanese one called sancho peppers. You finally had the pleasure of seeing black pepper on the vine in 1984, Scotty did, and fostering botanical gardens in Honolulu, Hawaii. Black pepper isn't related to chili peppers. No, it's not, and that's interesting to know. The peppercorns are different from peppers. Magical uses of black pepper. Add black pepper to protective foods such as chili, tomato sauce, and nachos. Sprinkle with visualization. When you're sprinkling the pepper on or grinding it on, close your eyeballs and visualize. Visualize the pepper that's falling is protection falling over you in this white light. Visualize the pepper coming over you and providing a white light of protection, whatever you need to do. Shrink yourself down, and now there's just a giant pepper grinder over you. And all of that is just this beautiful, lovely protection. And purification is the other words that's there. Protection and purification, both words that are going to be so enlightening of that white light that you're visualizing, okay? So, like I say, visualizing is so important, and meditation will help your visualizing become easier, quicker, and more better. So the last bit says black pepper is also used in purification diets. It's powerful. Don't overuse this or any other spice. Alright, so lastly we have Himalayan sea salt, and let's just see if, I think salt kind of have a big own chapter of its own, but salt. I did a video on a bunch of different salts, or all the salts that I use. There's quite a few. Sea salt, where are you? Salt, wow, there's a jillion places to look. I don't even know where to start. Let's move on. So all together, this was like something that I just threw together because I had eggs in the fridge and salt and pepper in the cupboard and some things left out from last night. And then I put that onion in my daughter's room. And I think we will, since we kind of did that, we'll stop this video and come back in a bit for like what's in my dehydrator. We'll talk about watermelon and oranges. We'll cut them up for the dehydrator, things like that. So we'll see you guys back soon here with Jen the Taxidermy Witch. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure that if you are into this kind of stuff, if you're into the spiritual stuff or herbal stuff with, focused energy to get the intention that you want, then subscribe if you appreciate these types of conversations, because that's what we do here. Thank you all. Have a really beautiful Mother's Day, and I'll see you guys so very soon.